hmm And we are live. Fellas, we're back doing it one more again for episode 5. And hello, everyone out there streaming, watching us, supporting us here on the RJ Squared podcast. My name is Jamal, and I'm here with Jermaine and Renell, and we are inviting you to join the conversation. We are your unfiltered crew, diving into life, culture, manhood, and so much more. We stream live every Monday and Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern here on YouTube and on Instagram. So make sure to hit the subscribe button, drop a comment, and join the conversation to help grow the channel and build the community. All right, tonight's topic, let's get into it. But before we do that, Renell, how have you been?
I'm well, good sir. Thank you for having me. Appreciate you.
And we have our other co host, November Montgomery, lurking in the shadows, my compatriot, Hermaine. How are you, sir?
Well, Jamal, I cannot complain. I woke up this morning. The day started off well. And here we are at another RJ Squared podcast. Nice to see both of you again, my colleagues, my peers, and in some cases, even my mentors. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it indeed.
Good man.
Well, I want to hear more about each of your week. So the last episode we had was episode 4, where we talked about cheaters. Thanks to Jermaine, he was the producer of that episode, and I thought it was a really great episode. We had a lot of good conversations, a lot of good content. But that was Monday. Today's Thursday. What's been going on since then? So, Renell, anything new? Anything
Yeah,
you want to
no, I
share?
can't. I don't have anything special to kind of share. It's been kind of a dry week. A lot of laundry folding, chores around the house, and
Mhm.
DIY stuff, but nothing really intriguing.
Gotcha.
Definitely looking
Gotcha.
forward to the topic this evening.
Yeah. We're gonna get into that in just a second.
Hmm.
So Jermaine's on the road. He's doing double duty, being safe, as we all know who he is, being safe. So I'm gonna skip Jermaine this week since he has so much going on. But I did want to let you and our viewers know that your boy is going to be a guest host on the Dyslexic Maverick podcast. This is a podcast hosted by, oh, and let me get her name, Nancy Disbro. All right. And she's been hosting this podcast for quite some time. Her specialties are in adults with unique abilities. And as you all know, I have autism spectrum disorder. And so she and I linked up on LinkedIn, and we had a nice little convo earlier this week. And she loved my story. And she was like, you know what? I'd love to have you on my podcast. So more to come on exactly when that's scheduled. So stay tuned. It should be streamed. Actually, no, it's going to be pre-recorded for both YouTube and Instagram. So as I get details, I will let everyone know. So I'm excited about that. So that's my news for this week. And so today, or I should say tonight, our episode is about mental health. Something very important. Wouldn't you agree, Renell?
I do. I think that's where I take the reins, right?
Yeah, you can. I think we all have dealt, and when I say we all, I mean everyone on the planet at some point or another has dealt with mental health, and I don't think it's something that we talk about enough. And so I think this is very important. I like that you picked this topic, Renell. And yes, you will be controlling the video tonight, good sir. So I
All
appreciate
right.
that. So yeah, you can go ahead and take over, man.
All right. We're really dedicating this podcast or this episode to mental health. The fact that it's you know one of those topics that has been taboo or was taboo for so very long, specifically during our upbringing as Generation X. Individuals. But the world has changed, and we are going to shift the conversation and talk about mental health, celebrate the progress, discuss why it happened, acknowledge the remaining challenges and what's to come, what's next for us, right? And here we go. So we've got a couple videos that Jamal and November that I want to kind of present to you, get your thoughts on, see how you feel about it. Definitely would love to hear from the audience and the watchers from this evening to jump in and talk to us and give us their viewpoints on the topic as well. But what it really feels like is we went from a world that was really just whispers, right, and shame, to so much more. The conversations are now open, and we're allowing ourselves to kind of, speak to what is going on within us. It's no longer, it's your mental health, but it's your overall overarching health, and that's a good thing. So it's a topic that has always resonated with me, Jambo, because not only have I dealt and we've all dealt with our own struggles, but it's something that has always resonated with me because I experienced firsthand how it can rock families and lives. I had a friend of mine, who took his own life when I was in the military.
Mhm.
So this one really hits home for me.
Mhm.
And I always remember my buddy, from training. He was, I have to say, November, he actually reminds me a lot of you. He's one of those guys that was incredibly charismatic, and just drew the room. I mean, he was that center of attention, that guy that truly made everyone laugh and feel just great about themselves. So, unfortunately, they always tell us, or they used to kind of speak to these warning signs that are out there, right? But I can tell you that this individual, my friend, never showed a single sign ever. Um, to this day, I'm still, 15, 20 years later, I'm still shocked that it happened,
Mhm.
because there was no sign, there were no signs, not that we knew about. So, that's the one piece of advice I guess I could say is, just because they say they're okay, just double check, on your
Mhm.
loved ones always. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into the way we were and remembering the silence. I think it's good and I'd love to kind of bounce the idea amongst us as to what we remember 10, 20 years ago, and what was it like for us growing up, with the topic of mental health.
Mhm.
And I have to tell you, Jam, let's just go back to Atlantic days, high school. I, I don't think I ever had a conversation with anyone. Zero. Yeah, I don't think I ever spoke to anyone about mental health in high school ever.
Well, let me ask you something really quick because you've been saying the phrase mental health quite a bit, but I mean, that's a broad term. It can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. In fact, some might say autism is mental health. Are you speaking because you talked about your friend from the military, and obviously he passed away by his own hand. I take it, and so that I would assume kind of delves into depression. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think there's a multitude of, it could have been, I don't know his medical record, but I do
Okay.
know that that could very much have been the case.
Okay.
I
Okay.
know for a fact he was going through a very traumatic time in his life. He
Mhm.
was going through a divorce.
Yeah.
He was on the cusp of losing custody of his children.
Yeah. That's
So
rough.
that
I
was a
think a lot of people don't realize how
Mhm.
devastating divorce is. I mean, we've both been through it, and I can tell you. I mean, for me, I kind of lost my identity for a while because
Yeah.
you know I I I I would work hard, I would
Mhm.
provide, I'd be a father, and that's just who I was. And then when that was stripped away, I was like, well, now what?
Mhm.
Is it even worth it? Is it what's the point? And you kind of feel empty. So and yeah, I don't think a lot of people talk about that. I didn't really know. Well, you reached out to me, and I'm so glad you did. And because I think you recognized what it was. And I'm so grateful for you for that. And I've thanked you before, but I'm going to thank you again because you were quick to recognize what I was going through, and you were like, you know what, I got the perfect medicine for you. And you know where we went, and man, I was healed. It was wonderful. So, but I will always be indebted to you for recognizing that, and I think that just goes to show how important relationships are, and
Yeah.
just being there for your brother,
Yeah.
man. So I love you so much for that, man. Thank you.
And I love you. Yeah, absolutely. And I think maybe that that hypersensitive, I guess, intuition,
Mhm.
perhaps was as a direct result of this experience that I had with my buddy.
Right,
You
right.
know, um, and yeah, no, we don't leave anyone behind.
I
So
like that.
so yeah, so that November. I'm sorry. Let's give you an opportunity to jump in and share your thoughts on those brief opening comments.
No, you're good. Yeah, mental health is obviously very important. A lot of people suffer through it. Obviously, this is a tad bit of a serious topic. So, the over the top November may not be here tonight because I don't feel it will be appropriate. Um, Especially remembering your friend and also what Jamal went through. I also had a friend that maybe was not diagnosed, but he's not here anymore, and his ex-girlfriend is not here anymore. So this is a serious topic. Um, the discussions need to be had for those who suffer from illnesses as far as mental health. Hopefully they can get help, they can get better, and they can lead a productive and happy life. Whenever you guys are ready for the video, let's do it. And I appreciate the topic that you brought up, Raynell, because it touched home to you. I appreciate you sharing what you shared, Jay Shizzle, about Raynell actually recognizing the signs in you and giving you, or at least trying to give you, an immediate remedy. So let's do it.
Yeah, but you know what? That remedy, I created a monster when I
Oh,
did
here we
that.
go. Well, that's let's save that for another episode.
We all need to be monsters sometimes.
Yes,
Yeah,
indeed.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right. So yeah, so
I think
from
that's Jermaine's way of saying, let's get to the video, man.
yeah. Okay. All right. So well, let's get to the video. All right. So
There it
give me a
is.
moment as I work through my technical difficulties here. I apologize. Here we go. Lights, camera. Oopsie.
You want me to add it? Oh, you got it. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Sorry, man. Rookie.
No worries, man. You're doing great. Yeah, and while you sort that out, yeah. So you were saying mental health, but I was just trying to stratify it a little bit, kind of touch on like the different types of mental health. Like
Yeah.
you know,
So yeah, there's so many that
there's
yeah.
so many types. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
We
get
can
why you're using
that's
a
another
broad
show.
term. I know, but like
Yeah.
so I just wanted to like give some.
But let's focus on, I guess, the low hanging fruit, for lack of a better term. And again, I'm
Yeah.
not diminishing any mental health
Mhm.
diagnosis, but let's start with this video. So,
Okay.
we good with this?
So I can add it to the stage here. I'll do that, and yep,
Okay,
perfect, just like that. And
and here we go.
all right.
No, that's oh, shoot. Hold on, sorry. Um, 1 second. Yeah.
No pressure, Renault. We're only live. Tens of people are watching.
Tens of people. All right. We
Oh, there
good?
we go. That looks right.
All right.
Yep.
There we go. There we go.
So I will add it for you. There you go.
Thank you.
My
Here we
mother
go.
struggles with the idea.
Oh yeah, scroll it back up.
considering has any sort of mental health issue.
I still hid it from some people because I didn't want anyone to treat me like I was weak.
It always comes back to the exact same thing. You're crazy. Estás loco.
I never really, would mentally allow myself to be weak.
You develop this whole yeah, I'm fine, everything's great, because it wasn't talked about then.
When I was about 16 years old, my mother attempted suicide. Filled my life with a lot of uncertainty, a lot of not knowing what's coming tomorrow. And I just, my whole life I used to think she was being dramatic, and until I experienced my own massive panic attack a couple years back, it really hurts me how hard I was on her. Once I see how real of a thing it is, and now I sometimes have self regret, damn, you didn't have remorse for your own mother, and that's hard.
I struggle with depression and anxiety, and it all started years back. Growing up, you don't really talk about it, especially in the Latino community. There's a lot of stigma around mental health. Numerous times you try to voice what you feel and it's almost dismissed.
As sick as it sounds, it felt like a friend because I've had it for so long. But when I really needed help was about 3 years ago, when I had actually made a plan to commit suicide. It's weird when you're in that frame of mind because you don't think of your loved ones, which I have a daughter, and I just felt like she was better off without me.
Yeah, so I want to pause there for a moment and kind of ask you, of the three that we've kind of observed already, have any of these resonated with you?
Yeah, for sure. So I think two things jump out at me right away. One is how uh, you can deal with disbelief, people having a difficult time believing that your internal struggles are valid. A lot of times people want to say, oh, just get over it, or, you're overreacting. Why are you being such a drama king or drama queen? And it can easily be just dismissed,
Mm.
which leads me to the second point, which is that mental health, all of it is invisible. It's not like, being a quadriplegic in a wheelchair, or having, um, a missing limb or something that's visible. Mental health is invisible. And because of that, it's often overlooked or dismissed. And you have to really convince people.
Yeah.
I've dealt with that where, I'll share my diagnosis, I'll be very upfront about it. And people are like, but you seem fine. Or, I'll talk about, my youngest son, and they're like, but he seems fine. I'm like, all of a sudden you're a psychiatrist? Seriously? I'm telling you this, I wouldn't make that up, but you'd be surprised. It just, people just cannot believe it.
Yeah.
So those are two things that jumped out at me right away. And, I think as a society, we should really give people the benefit of the doubt. I mean, it wouldn't hurt. I mean, worst case, they just want attention, which in itself is a cry for help. So just give it to them, but that's me. What do you
Jeff.
think?
November, what are your thoughts, sir?
Yeah. A lot went on within that 30 seconds or so. When the young lady said, I know it may sound pretty much weird, but it felt like it was a part of her. So she's lived with this for a significant amount of time. And when she looked in the mirror, she saw herself, but she also saw this particular mental health issue. I will say this: surround yourself with people who care about you and want the best for you. So when you do bring this up to them, they take it seriously, because it may take one person that knows you to take it seriously for you to actually make it to the next day.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge in a lot of scenarios with individuals with mental health. Some of them spoke about unaliving themselves. Obviously, you don't want anyone to get to that point where they're even on the brink of thinking that. So we want to give all the, what's a good word for it, benefit of the doubt that we can. Are there some people that claim mental health issues that don't have it? Yes, but it's always best to be safe rather than be sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. I think, of the three that we've already seen, the one that really stuck with me was the young man that was talking about the regret, right, of seeing his mother. Actually, she committed suicide or attempted, or committed to take her
Unalived.
life, I should say. Yeah,
Yeah.
committed to take her life, or attempted to take her life. Um, that one kind of resonated with me and hit home because my own I had a family member that dealt with some things, right? And anxiety and panic attacks and things of that nature that truly I dismissed, kind of like what you were speaking to earlier, Jamal. It was that culture of, you're crazy. It was that culture of what's wrong with you? Like what? Right. And and to this day, I still feel guilt. Thank God nothing ever happened or went to that extreme. But I still feel guilt because it was someone very dear to me that I shouldn't have done that. I should have been more supportive but
Yeah.
it is what it is. You're young and you're stupid.
Yeah, and I think the best thing to do is to learn from it, like you've obviously done. And I think if given the opportunity or put in a similar situation, you would not make the same mistake. So,
Check.
Yeah.
All right, so let's press.
All right.
Dealing with certain situations, but not really knowing how to name those emotions, feeling like there was a weight over me, feeling like there was a dark cloud following me. The stigma that was in my mind a lot was the stigma that is in the Black community a lot, which says that if you go to therapy, you're crazy or there must be something wrong with you. And you, as a Black woman, you just have to be strong and deal with it on your own or go pray to God about it. And so I just didn't want to be seen as weak.
In middle school, I actually had a teacher who sent me to the guidance counselor. And then I think my mother came in at a certain point and we were just like, no, this isn't a thing. This doesn't happen to us, something like that.
I wish that employers would know more about how crippling and debilitating depression is, because I feel like a lot of people just kind of grin and bear it because the stigma out there, a lot of people think, oh, you're just making this up because you don't want to work or you're lazy.
I guess kind of.
So let's stop there for a moment and
Oh, I was on mute. I was like, say it, girl. Dang, I was on mute.
because I think there's a lot there that we can kind of discuss and jump into. So Jam, I'll turn the mic over to you, sir. What are your thoughts on those three so far?
So, yeah, I think there's a cultural issue. Uh, as a Black man, I can tell you, like I won't make a generalization because I really try to avoid that. But I do believe there are certain beliefs
Mhm.
or doubts, maybe, about the effectiveness of um, using a therapist to help get you through tough times. So, I, yeah, I'm not going to generalize and say the entire Black community, but I definitely empathize with the young lady who said that and spoke to how in the Black community it's not really something that's embraced or thought of as a viable option to help
Mhm.
deal. Um, at least growing up for me, it was more about just turning to the Bible and praying about it, or you know, um, yeah, just dealing with it from within. Excuse me. And so that resonated with me, and then also employers, because I I kind of feel like employers feel like like where's the return on investment? Like, sure, we can do all this, but what do we get out of it? I mean, we can just hire someone else and let him or her be some other company's problem. And I kind of feel like that's the attitude, which is horrible. But that's my opinion. I have no proof,
Yeah.
but I could see that being the case, um, where you can easily slip through the cracks, and they can say, "Oh, we've done all we can. You go to HR, you speak to so and so, but you may need more." You know, yeah, it's that's a tough thing. That's a tough thing, and I know the Americans with Disabilities Act are supposed to not force, but strongly encourage
Mhm.
employers to provide accommodations. Um, but that's not to say you can't legally be terminated because you're not able to do your job. So that's a complicated issue. And I don't know what the answer is, but she touched on it, and it can just be one more reason to feel unseen, unheard, or helpless, by the fact that you can't even go to your employer and them understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. So, from my own experiences with friends and family, I think we're all really happy, like I said in the intro, to that we're talking about it, and we've come so far, right? In such a, I would say, in the last 15 to 20 years, we've made a lot of progress. Workplace initiatives, I have to say, like, I, my opinion is that it's they've made a lot of progress in the work environment. Now, I can only speak to my previous life, right, which is in the military. From when I first joined to when I actually left service, I can tell you that it was a complete shift, right?
Hmm.
In my time during service, I also can report to you that I know for a fact, we all knew that we would never never ever go and report any mental health issues. Why? Because if you spoke about your mental health issues, you would lose your clearance and you would
Really?
lose your job. Yeah.
Oh,
So you know what you would do? You would go do some push-ups and figure it out. Because there was
that
no
doesn't sound healthy.
no, not at all, but you found another way to cope with it, right?
Mhm.
And unfortunately, that's the that was the culture, right? But over time, during my time, you definitely saw the shift, and people were well, the organization, the military was more open minded.
Mm. Well,
Basically,
that's good. No, so I'm encouraged to hear that things
yeah,
got better. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Um, and I think in the private sector as well, I can, from the limited time that I've been in the private sector, I have seen organizations that truly, they have EAP programs and employee assistance programs. These things exist, and they're there, they're funded, and they're available.
I'm sure
So
they do exist, but they're not everywhere. So
yes, I'm just giving you my small sample
sure,
size. Yeah.
sure, sure. And then of course, mileage varies about, how robust these programs are in each individual company.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
they're yeah, yeah, but I get what you're saying. No, so it's not a total loss. There's some
Yeah.
glimmers of hope out there, is what you're saying. Always the optimist. Always. I like that.
Indeed, half glass or the glass half full, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's good. That's good.
All
Okay.
right, Mr. November, please
I
tell us
see
what are
his
your
I
thoughts.
see his hands coming out of the darkness. There we go.
Yeah, I think you guys made valid points. You know, I'm speaking from a uneducated standpoint on mental health, so I don't want to sit here and try to mislead anyone, because if I'm not informed well enough to speak on certain things, I really try not to speak on it. But as far as the black community that the young lady brought up, I can see that happening. I can see your mother, father, aunt, or uncle saying, "Hey, toughen up, young man. This is what you have to deal with as a black man, etc., etc. Um, as far as, and I'm not saying it's right whatsoever. I'm just saying I can see it happening. But at the same time, I don't think it's only in the black community. I can see it happening in various communities, um, with Europeans, with Latinos, just like the other Latino or Latina person said. It's in their community also. So I don't think it's just in one demographic of people. I just think it's across the board, especially from the older school people who grew up without this umbrella above them pertaining to mental health, if that makes sense. Now, for the employers, I do think it's a lot of things in place for employers, but I do feel you can't. Employers aren't psychiatrists or psychologists to come down to the root of the problem. That's not what they're there for. I think the people in these situations, and unfortunately it doesn't always happen because they're going through it, um, they have to be able to present something where they can actually take to their employers. Now, I'm not saying more should be, employers should do more or do less. I'm just speaking from a practical standpoint. If someone graduates with a business administrative degree, it's not much they can do to help you. Now, if they can guide that would be placed. That would be great. So I think safeguards should be put in place for employers to where if there is an employee with some type of mental health issue, they can actually direct them to the appropriate persons to get help.
Yep.
Jamal brought up accommodation. I think that's part of accommodating your actual employee, being able to facilitate the findings for them, because they may not be able to go through it. They may be a manic depressive, and the only time they get out of bed is to go to work. So if employers can actually provide this information for them, maybe place a phone call, and of course this is in each individual's hands, place a phone call for them so they can actually get help. I think that would be a pretty much a good service done by the employer. But I don't think the employer can do everything. I think putting them in a position where they have to also manage because they're already managing the emotions of each employee that they have. So it's tough to ask them to go deeper, but I think it makes sense that they can actually have information that could facilitate this person to get help. And then progress, yeah, I was in the military also. Um, Look, I think I went on the Westpac and we looked up and there was like 4 people missing from the ship. I was in an aircraft carrier. Nobody knew where they were. I can't say it was mental health, but it could have been in that day and age. And this is back in the middle to the latter half of the 90s. So they could have been having mental health issues, but back then it was, toughen up. Um, you have a job to do. This is your duty. And as far as clearances, I was an operations specialist, so I was in top. So yes, if you did speak about particular things, you may not have that job anymore, and more than likely, you may be discharged with a medical discharge in some case scenarios. But go ahead, guys.
No, absolutely. It was a time where you just kept your mouth shut and go do push-ups, shut up, and it's horrible to say that. It's callous, but it was the culture. That was the culture. So anyways, let's press. We're going to continue on, November. Here we go.
The cultural background where I'm from, it was just kind of like we're going to turn a blind eye to this. She received less education about it. I mean, I think it's also a generational divide, whereas when I was in high school and stuff, we had health classes that talked about these sort of issues, and I don't necessarily think that she received that sort of education. She was like, for every time you go see a therapist, you could just go get a massage or something, just like totally like non-constructive, unproductive ways of thinking that made it even more difficult for me to take these steps on my own because I had like no support.
Well, I mean, I even grew up in a time where, I was upset or crying or even sad and like, smile. I think it's getting better, but it's definitely not there yet.
Dealing with something like this, when you're so afraid to be vocal about it, you feel like there's something wrong with you. Normal really is experiencing emotions. Normal really is heartbreak. Normal is sadness. All those things exist. All those things everyone goes through. A lot of people think that going through mental illness and going through depression or anxiety makes you a weak-minded individual. And that's not the case at all.
Through my seeking of help, I've recognized I've had to do these things and had to undergo these things because no one could walk my shoes and be me, like, through these experiences. This is what molded Nate today. This is who I am. This is my story, and this is what I have to run with.
All right.
I love Nate.
Well, I wish I could rock a neck tattoo like he does.
Yeah.
He does it with such confidence.
Absolutely.
It looks like it hurts. I've seen neck tattoos, and I'm just like, nah, dude, I can't do it.
Yeah. So we will, we kind of dove into that video enough, and I think we can continue the conversation and kind of talk about, what do you guys think, kind of opened the door for the change, for these changes? And that's kind of a rhetorical question. But what I'm really trying to focus on here is, I think, my opinion, the shift was truly when, you know, it became like we had this new thing called social media, right? And we had, ex NFL player Brandon Marshall coming out and saying, you know what? I'm dealing with depression. I'm dealing with, whatever other mental health issues he was dealing with at the time. Shout out to Brandon Marshall, great wide receiver. And he just he opened himself up and he just said, hey, this is me and this is what I'm dealing with. Hey, NFL team, I need help. And he went out there and got the help he needed. And the NFL team, of course, because there's dollars and cents tied to this, and he scored a lot of touchdowns. They were supportive as well. And then you also have people like J Balvin, reggaeton artist. Shout out to Medellin, Colombia. One of the probably the best, one of the best reggaeton artists out there that comes out and during I saw his video. He has a documentary on Prime Video. I highly recommend it. It's called "The Boy from Medellin," and yeah, check it out. Check it out sometime. And it really tells his story, his struggle, and from cradle to grave, and his struggle with mental health, and his moment of vulnerability and his ability to come out and say, this is what I deal with, and this is how I mitigate. So, just shout out to those guys, and I think hats off to to all the celebrities and the athletes and the people that have those platforms that have come out and really shown up to in front of the world and have said, this is something that we need to talk about, and we need to make it part of our health. It's not just mental health; it's part of our health. So that's my shot on that.
Okay. All right. No, I think that's great. I think it's just a natural progression of I was gonna say human evolution, but just as we progress and as we learn more, especially from a medical standpoint, a scientific standpoint,
Mhm.
we just learn more about how we think and how we are as human beings. And so I think it's just a natural progression towards um, investing more into public health programs in general. You have the DSM. It's that book, and don't ask me what DSM stands for, but it has to do with anxiety, depression, all the different psychological issues that the psychiatrists read up on. Yeah, I think it's just a natural progression of us just learning more and being more informed. And so, of course, naturally, the more you learn, the more then you want to implement that knowledge. And so, yeah, you create programs, you create new jobs, you create new opportunities for people to speak up Yeah, because our dads didn't have that. They just didn't have the opportunity because there just was no awareness of it. And who's to say when our children are our age, they're going to find out even more,
Yeah.
and there'll be even more things for them to do and take advantage of. So I think that's just, which is a good thing. We should not be where we were 100 years ago. We should be further along. And so I think this is just, consequence of that. So now, Brunel, this is a very important topic. And I see you, November. Give me just a second. This is a very important topic. And I think this, and I hope this video grows legs and can touch a lot of people. But I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm sad right now.
Are
I'm
you?
sad. A little bit, man, a little bit, because
It's a Debbie Downer one. Yeah,
it's
it
a little
really,
bit,
yeah.
a little bit, a little bit. So all right, I'm gonna let Jermaine do his thing. Go ahead, Jermaine. Go for it. Come out the darkness.
Hang on. That's better.
No, it's awful.
Do it everywhere, baby. This is how
There
we
we
do
go. There it is.
it. No, man. Look, either way, I wanted to be here for my kinfolk, Jay Shizzle and Ray Ray. So we did a test run of this earlier. I'm on the road right now, but I didn't want to let them down because we decided to start this. But now we know, hey, if I'm ever on the road, well, this is another way we can actually handle it.
That's right.
I agree. Look, serious topic. Definitely didn't want to miss this because, this was Raynell's first producership, and and I'm being honest here, I wanted to be here for him because the amount of phone calls I've received since the last episode, and but I'm being serious. I'm proud of him. I know he wanted to talk about something that touched his heart, and he wanted to do it the right way. He wanted to be knowledgeable on it. He wanted to produce it and put it out. So I wanted to let him know I'm proud of him for taking that step, and I wanted to say good job. As far as the video, the health classes, I never remember in health class. I don't even know if I had a health class in high school. I don't know if I just didn't. They didn't have one, or I just didn't go. But maybe I was asleep. I don't know. Maybe that was health class one of the ones that you automatically received an A for as long as you showed up.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, I was probably asleep. But she spoke about the novelty of it. It was so obscure back then as far as mental health. No one really spoke of it. There's a reason why there's a lot of, how can I say it, transient people in the U.S. And a lot of the transient people never received help. You could probably take every homeless person, and I'm not an expert, but I would say at least half has some type of mental health issue.
Oh, yeah.
And when I say mental health issue, it could be coming back from Desert Storm with PTSD. It could be bipolar. It could be a manic depressive. But I do find it interesting when Jamal brought up, I believe, the DSM, correct, Jamal?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so narcissism isn't even on the DSM, I believe. Or actually, and I could be wrong, but it doesn't show up on the DSM, and it's because it's so rare, and there are so many different variables that go into narcissism. Also, psychopathy, like being a psychopath, I don't think that shows up either. But you hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, I dated a psychopath. She was a psychopath, or he was a psychopath." But in some cases, it's not even on the DSM because it's super rare. I believe as far as narcissism, there's less than 5% of people who are actually a narcissist. So when you meet 10 people in a row and all of them say they dated a past narcissist, the odds are very unlikely because usually it's undiagnosed at best. Now, are there narcissistic people out there? Yes. Are there psychopaths out there? Yes. But I just wanted to give the trophy to Raynell this evening.
Absolutely.
Hats off to you, young man. And I'm going to say it this way. Colombiano, mujeres, lover. Did I say it right?
Mustard on the beat, bro.
What does that mean, though, in Spanish?
You said colombiano, mujeres,
Mujeres, lover. Lover.
Amante. Are you asking me to translate that into Spanish?
A Colombian
It's an
lady
English.
lover.
Colombian lady lover, man. Or Colombian woman lover. Yeah,
Oh,
man.
yeah, you know me. I've always been a lover, not a fighter. You know me.
Hey,
I think they just call that papi chulo, right?
All right. So
Okay, I guess not.
so I do so
Yeah, I was
so I
like,
do
no.
have one more video for you fellas, and then we
Mhm.
can close up shop. But if you're ready, let's dive in.
I'm ready. Let's go.
Hi, my name's Piper. According to psychiatrists who utilize the DSM, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, I have psychosis, OCD, depression, anorexia, autism, anxiety, bipolar, borderline personality disorder, bulimia. Oh, I'm also a Taurus. I've spent the last
Wow.
6 years in the mental health system through hospitals, residential programs, wilderness therapy, and more. Today, I'm here to talk about my story and why the one-size-fits-all approach to mental illness doesn't work for everyone.
So let's pause there for a second. Any thoughts on the intro?
I want to go in first.
Yep, go.
All right. Now, sometimes there has to be, how can I say it? Not bearer of bad news, but devil's advocate. She got a lot of shit, bro.
A lot.
And no, I'm just
A
being
lot.
honest.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Let me tell you what so I understand this is a serious topic, but I also understand big pharma and money and how money circulates with different things in the world. Sometimes the problem with seeing a therapist is you have to remember it's still a business at the end of the day. And I'm not saying she does not have those things. I'm simply saying anyone can be taken advantage of at any time. Because she listed a lot of stuff, bro. Now, when you go to a therapist or a psychiatrist, if you go to two different psychiatrists, one may say you have BPD, and one may say you have MD. So sometimes the diagnosis change depending on what therapist you see. It's not always set in stone that this particular person that's pretty much trying to get help has one particular thing that every doctor will say they have, or every therapist, or every psychiatrist, or every psychiatrist, or every psychologist. That's one of the problems that I see with mental health is let's push out pills to people who don't necessarily need it, and let's put them in a precarious situation to where they feel they need this to survive. Now, I'm not saying people don't need it. I'm not saying there's not mental health issues out there. I'm just being the devil's advocate. Because I've been with people where they tell me they have something, they don't take pills for 3 months, 6 months to a year, and they're still acting the same way that they acted when they were taking the actual medication. I'm like, do you actually have something, or like were you misdiagnosed? Because you can be misdiagnosed. So I think it's good to always get a second opinion. And this is for the people to get help, to get a first, second, sometimes maybe third opinion, to come to a consensus of what's actually going on with that specific person so they can get the best help possible. Go ahead, guys.
All right, J-Dub.
She has a lot of problems. If like what Jermaine alluded to, if her diagnoses are in fact true, that's a lot. Or maybe that's her point, which is that, you can't put anyone in a box, and that's what she was about to get into. Um, so I guess because yeah, I mean, we kind of touched on this earlier, where this is a continuously evolving field of medicine, of healthcare, of understanding how we process emotions in our lives and
Mm,
good and bad days and all that, right? And it's difficult to quantify. It is, but we still have to contend with it. We still have to deal with it. But I lost count of all the stuff she named. She named a lot of stuff, and I will say this: something Jermaine mentioned, how not every therapist has your best interest in mind. I've definitely felt like I've wasted my time and money with some
mm,
therapists. Think, hoping that I was going to find a solution or at least find a resolution, and I just never did. And it was just rehashing the same thing over and over again until finally I was like, I'm sick of wasting money. So I get that. Um, yeah, but I don't have a better way to get around that. But I'm just, I just piggyback and I just echo what Jermaine's saying. That's definitely a thing that definitely happens.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's just one more thing to contend with in the mental health, space, is just dealing with just people who just don't have your best interest in mind. But I'm curious to see what else she has to say, because yeah, that's a hell of an intro.
So that's a great
She
segue. Let's
Yeah,
jump into it.
yeah, let's go. Hey.
What the hell just
Went to my
happened?
first stay in a psych ward. After a suicide attempt at age 12, I was treated as though I was broken and needed to be fixed. They never looked at the whole picture. They never looked at all the symptoms. It was, what am I presenting right now? Treat that and send her on her way with new meds. When I said I was suicidal, now I have major depressive disorder. And when I wasn't eating, I had anorexia nervosa. And when I was self-harming, I had generalized anxiety disorder. Find a therapist. Here's your meds. Let's fix that. My adolescence was filled with traumatic stays in psych wards. My honesty was met with what felt like punishment. I would say that I wanted to die, and I had to stay for a few more days. My weight went down, so I had to stay for a few more days. I was angry and didn't want to go to group therapy, so my sentence was extended for a few more days. So I learned how to lie, and I learned how to cheat to get myself out faster. And I get that in the long run, that probably did more harm than good. But my immediate need to get out of what felt like a prison was pretty strong. So the cycle continued. I'd fall apart. I'd do something so risky I'd end up in the psych ward. I'd feel safe for a bit. I'd get yet another incorrect diagnosis. And then I'd lie about how I felt to get out. I started relying on them to fix me, when in the long run, it was doing more harm than good.
All right, let's stop right there. And November, this kind of speaks to what you were alluding to earlier. I'd love to get your thoughts on her method of faking it till she made it and breaking out of her her incarceration there in the psych wards and stuff like that. It's sad, right? You got to lie that you feel better or that you're getting it and improving to actually progress and move out of that situation. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, her humility is humbling. Proud of her for actually being able to get up and speak about this. She was, a pretty much a first responder. She was patient zero. Um, I can imagine. Well, I can't imagine, but from what she says, psych wards. You see movies, you hear of things of this nature, and you can't say everyone is doing the job because they care. Unfortunately, some people are doing the job simply because it pays bills. And that's something that I don't think can be corrected, but we need to try to fix as much as possible so people like her and people in her situation can get the adequate help that they need, not only diagnosing the problem, like she said, that they um, blatantly see in that moment, but the underlying meaning. It's if a person has, what's a good word for it? If a person has codependent issues, you know, do they never want to be alone? What's the actual reason? Was it they saw their father leave or mother leave when they were 6? Can we get down to the root of the cause so we can address that and actually get the person help? I think that's the biggest thing. Getting the person the help they need, diagnosing the problem, so again, they can get better, feel better about themselves, live a productive life, be able to contribute to society, be able to be a person that can enjoy time with family and live their life. As far as the other things that I brought up, there is misdiagnosis. She might have been going through something at that time and they did not catch something. And, that's above my pay grade, obviously, of how we get that particular problem fixed. But does it need to be addressed? Definitely. And by addressing it, regardless of the time span it takes to rectify the situation, it can only help individuals with mental health issues. Go ahead, guys.
J-Dub.
So I know this is a serious topic, but as she was talking, I could only think about this TikTok video.
What?
Yeah, I know.
You mean the one with the girl dancing with the mic? No, go ahead.
No, but it's about
What?
a guy. It's about a guy trying to break the Guinness World Record for longest crying marathon. Did you hear about that?
No,
It's a
never.
It's a Nigerian man. He tried to cry for 100 hours straight, nonstop. He only made it like 2 days, and then he went blind or something. And I don't know. I don't know why, but that just popped in my head. And
We got to whistle while we work. No worries.
so I didn't hear anything she said.
No worries. No worries. No worries. We can jump right back
Oh,
into
man.
it.
Yeah, let's jump back in, please. Yeah, let's go.
When I went to a long-term wilderness therapy program and a therapeutic boarding school, it was the same exact story. What am I presenting? What tools do you have for me? Don't forget the meds. And if I didn't improve, I had to stay longer. So again, I learned how to suppress and manage my symptoms. Through all of this, I was stuck in the continuous cycle of self-sabotage, poor mental health, and suicidal behavior. In August 2020, I had a very serious suicide attempt. I had just graduated from these long-term programs, and I told myself that I was free, right? I had played the game successfully, and since I had done everything in the books when it comes to mental health treatment, I was good now, or so I told myself. I ended up in the ICU, intubated and unconscious for several days, and in the hospital for about a week. This was my closest call yet. I remember that first morning home from the hospital so vividly. It was around 7 a.m. I had just woken up in my parents' bed. I was looking out the window and listening to the birds chirp. And then I had this moment of clarity about how I had spent the last 4 years of my life in the mental health system, but never really felt any relief. I had been solely relying on them to fix me. Something needed to change. So I started embracing the mental health challenges I face. My correct diagnosis is borderline personality disorder. Some of the things I face are impulsivity, disordered eating, all or nothing thinking, and intense emotions. My brain has created these thoughts and feelings because it is trying to keep me safe. It's trying to protect me. We all have certain thoughts and emotions, and it's our brain's way of saying something needs to change. For you, it could be restlessness, resentment, anger, or intense feelings of sadness. Let's say I'm feeling really stressed at work. Instead of turning away from that issue and thinking, I hate feeling like this, how can I suppress this? How can I get rid of this? I'm going to turn towards that feeling. What is this trying to tell me? Maybe I need to take a break. I've been doing too much at work and my brain is going crazy. So I need to stop for just a second. Maybe I've been focusing so much on my workload that I forgot to have a life outside of that. So I can go hang out with some friends this weekend and relax a little bit. By using this tool, I have seen a huge improvement in my mental health. I feel more peaceful, more intuitive, and more stable. For years, I was taught that I was broken, that I needed to be fixed. This contributed greatly to the way I felt mentally. I hated myself, and I hated that I wasn't normal. The thing is, you can't hate yourself into feeling better. I had to relearn the way I felt about my disorder. I feel emotions very intensely. And yes, the lows for me are incredibly low. But the love I feel with such intense emotion is so beautiful. And the happy moments are so much brighter.
Okay, let's pause it.
Go for it.
Yeah, this chick like a stick of dynamite, bro. like, you know what I'm saying? Like, geez. You know what I found? You know what I found interesting? She didn't bring up meds whatsoever. She brought up what can she do in her own life that was productive to take her thoughts away from, to take, what could she do with her actions daily to remove the thoughts? I'm working too much. Okay, let me cut back. Let me go out with my friends. Nothing about that was taking prescriptions, pills, meditating. It was about doing something that you enjoy, taking your mind off what's putting you in that actual situation. And I think that if people took that mindset that she has with quote unquote mental health issues, I'm not saying it'll cure them. I'm not saying it's the cure all. I'm simply saying it may actually help. If someone's been working for 2 years straight and hasn't taken a vacation and they're working 70 to 80 hours a week and they feel drained, they feel depressed, they never have time to go out and do things, they don't see their friends, they can't see their family. if they can self-reflect like she did, look at what's going on, and say, hey, I'm outside of the glass house looking in. What can I do to better myself? These are things I can do. I can hang out with friends. I can go work out on my off time. I can cut back on my workload. Maybe these things will help me get to a better place mentally. So I appreciate her for that, man.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. J-Dub, thoughts?
Yo, this is sad. This is
Yeah.
very sad. So I
Yeah,
went
stick to
to
dynamite.
yeah, I went to Wikipedia to look up borderline personality disorder. And it just says a personality disorder characterized by a pervasive long-term pattern of significant interpersonal relationship instability. And a lot more than that. But so basically this young lady's dealing with a lot. And you know, that's really sad and that's unfortunate. Um, but man, it's sad. I need to hug a puppy or something, man.
Yeah.
I just feel yeah.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
so I was just gonna say, because we're almost done. Let's close this one out. It's literally, I think we got like maybe a minute left, and she's gonna close out her story, and then we'll wrap up for the night.
Okay.
And I would be lying if I said I have not been in moments of crisis since that night. The difference between now and then is my relationship with crisis. Yes, I do have a therapist, and yes, I am on meds. But I don't solely rely on that to fix me. And I know deep down that I'm not something that needs to be fixed, and there is nothing wrong with me. Throughout my journey, I have met hundreds of people who have the same exact story as me. This is not unique. I am not broken. They are not broken. You are not broken. Thank you.
That was almost like an art house kind of a presentation, you know? Just needed the finger snapping at the end. Almost, if it weren't like her life. But you know,
I was gonna ask you, is that Oshkosh, Wisconsin, or do you know?
I have no
Maybe
idea.
so.
I just know, yeah, they have the overalls for the kids. That's all I hmm Yeah.
So Debbie Downer, kind of a topic, but an important topic nonetheless, one that has affected all of us
Yeah.
here at the RJ Squared team.
Yep.
Shout out to all of those before and after that are going to come forward and to continue to push this message out there. Any parting shots from November Montgomery?
Yeah, I know I brought this up earlier. Since we're already on doom and gloom, which I'm not gonna lie. Again, a very important topic. It's look. I don't want to. No, man, because it's an important topic. It
Very
just does,
important.
but it gets you down. Like when you hear a young
Yeah.
lady like that. I don't. Maybe she was what, 24, 25. How did? I can't really. I'm in the truck. How old did she look?
She looked 20. She said, I think she said her age, but early 20s. She has her
Early
whole life ahead of
20s.
her. She has her whole life ahead of her. Yeah.
Yeah, when you hear somebody that's gone through this for this amount of time, especially being in a psych ward, being pumped up with drugs, obviously treated like a number, pretty much that's what she was treated like. It just makes you feel bad for her. Mental health is an issue. People should get help. We should have things in place, which I think overall we do now, where people do get help. I think social media allowed people. I think social media allowed people to quote unquote come out the closet in a sense with what they were going through or what they are going through. And I think in some cases social media isn't a negative in this particular case. I think it allows people to share their experiences. So if some young 14-year-old is going through the same thing and they think they're alone, they don't feel so alone, and they may be more prompted to voice what's going on to their parents, or if they're older, a significant other, or even a sibling or a best friend or an acquaintance, or even their employers. Maybe hearing something like this, even from us, can have someone who's going through this at work say, okay, what does my employer have in place in case mental health issues arise with me? Maybe they go into a job or a career field where they can actually look at these things before actually taking the job. Hey, does this career field allow these particular things? Do they have this in place for employees with mental health issues? And I think it can only be a good thing. But I do have something I want you to play, Jamal. But go ahead.
Well, I think we should look into here, and you should hold off for the next episode. That's what I think. Because I don't want to take anything away from the topic. I think it was such a important and serious topic that I don't want to uh, steal the thunder from it. Um, but very important show. It's I think it can resonate with almost everyone. And I'm glad we had it. I'm glad we took the time to shed some light on it. So I don't know of any resources or any place anyone can go who's feeling down, who needs someone to talk to. Maybe Renell, seeing how you're the producer of this show, okay, I'll keep talking to give you time to look that up. But I think that would be a great way for those who come across and stumble upon this video and watch the whole way through. I think it will only do them service to know of a place where they can turn, um, because this young woman's story was tragic, and she was very brave to get on stage. You can hear the fear in her voice, or not fear, but the nervousness in her voice as she's speaking, and it took a lot of bravery to get up there and be vulnerable and share your story. So we want to honor that by letting those people know that if you're going through something, you're not really sure why or what it is. One, you're not alone. Two, you have value. You are important. And three, there are places where you can go to find help, get help. So Ray, you looks like you got something up here on the screen. You're on. Are you on mute? Are you talking? Can't hear you.
Mic check.
There you go.
All right. A mental health resource, national helpline. There is the 988 suicide and crisis lifeline that's available.
Let's type that into the comments. Let's type that phone number into the comments with the name of it.
There you go.
Oh, so I'll just put the link in there. 988lifeline.org.
There you go. All right.
And I'll put that.
I didn't know about that. I didn't know about the 9. See, I learned something. I didn't know about that.
November, put it in the comments, you said?
No, don't put it in the comments. That's just for people.
Oh, okay.
It goes away when people watch it later. So just remember that 988. So instead of 911, 988. There you go.
988.
All right, cool. So listen, fellas, where can people find you on social? Renell, go first.
Raynell Saw _JR.
And that's
Instagram.
at Instagram. Awesome. Okay. November Montgomery, where can people find you on social?
November Montgomery, all platforms, Instagram, Facebook, as well as YouTube.
All right. And I am Jamal. You can find me at Jamal is Good on Blue Sky and on Instagram. That is the RJ Squared podcast. That's a wrap for tonight, where the convo never stops. If you vibe with us, do us a favor, hit the like and subscribe button. Drop a comment. We would love to hear from you. Please subscribe so you don't miss a future episode. We're here live every Monday and Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern here on YouTube and on Instagram. And until next time, keep it grown, keep it honest, and as always, join the conversation. Peace.
Salud.
Peace.